Hey, what's going on, everybody? It's Joe from Gadgetry Tech. Today's going to be a relatively short and specific video because we're going to talk about pad swapping the Corsair Virtuoso Pro. This is an open back premium gaming headset from Corsair. It was designed to compete with some other higher end brands like Sennheiser, Epos, Beyerdynamic, etc. And it was a solid option. It wasn't going toe to toe with them in my opinion, but with EQ it actually became a pretty viable option. One of the things that was holding it back for some people were the ear pads, because when you look at the pad depth, this instantly became an issue of concern for some people. And the pad depth on this, while we're on that note, is 18 millimeters. So the Wicked Cushion Freeze pads, the whole point of this video is to upgrade your pads, which can change comfort, and it will also change sound quality. Now, these pads were sent to me for review. It will not affect what I say about it. I have affiliate links in the description below, which some of the use of that links, if you go to Amazon, I do make money off those. That's what supports the channel, but I'm not making this video to promote the pads and sell it. In fact, when you will see the audio frequency response measurements, something that I do at Scientific Testing, it takes my opinion out of it and it shows you the actual sound quality impact that pad swapping has. And if you're not in a position to do EQ, you may not like the result. So if you decide you want to purchase a set of these pads after watching the video or sometime during, I will have links in the description below along with a coupon code to save you 15% off the pad, whether you buy it through Wicked Cushions Direct or if you buy it on Amazon. So I want to do some side-by-side comparisons and talk about comfort changes, dimensions, weights, all that stuff to the stock pad versus the Wicked Cushion Freeze pad. I have two Virtuoso Pros because Corsair sent me one. The driver matching was absolutely insane, which means the left and right drivers sound identical. So I wanted to buy a store-bought unit to confirm that that wasn't a fluke thing, and it's not. These things image extremely well because the left and right driver match. I have a whole dedicated review on this, and I'll have a link in the description below for that if you want to learn more. However, the issue with the pad, you can kind of see there's a big difference. These pads are wider on the outside. In fact, if I put one of the older Virtuoso Pro pads on the upgraded one, you can see the Wicked Cushion pad kind of bleeding around the outside edge of it. It's just a bigger pad. There's more contact area here. It's also very thick in comparison to this. This is 18 millimeters. The Wicked Cushion Freeze pad is 25 millimeters. So it's a pretty big improvement in depth. The other nice thing I'm going to show you is how easy it is to remove. All I have to do is rotate this and it pops off. And I am pleased to say, even though these are deeper, there is still an acoustic fleece in the center. This little screen right here has a slight pad to it. So even if you have larger ears that still touch the baffle, it's not hitting hard plastic directly, just like the stock pad. The stock pads, your ears are going to hit the baffle. It's a very thin pad. So I like the fact that Wicked Cushions kept that. And it also has a slight impact on frequency response if you're concerned with treble. That acoustic fleece being there will help kind of tame some of that upper frequency just a little bit. I showed you how easy it is to remove the pad, and it's the same idea to line it back up. What I typically like to do is line up that seam towards the bottom. So you want to make sure that when you twist it on, it's going to kind of, rotate in a spot where once I tighten this, the seam is lined up with the 3.5 millimeter port on the bottom. It just makes it easier, and now I'm good to go. Now, a thicker pad is going to also increase clamp force slightly. So if you are concerned with clamp force, the Virtuoso Pro out of the box does have a slightly stronger clamp, but thanks to the headband design, this is all metal right here, you can soften the clamp. So if this becomes too tight of a clamp force, it wasn't too bad for me, but you can basically grab it by this metal part here and kind of bend it out. You can almost see like I'm putting pressure. You only want to bend it where this metal band is. You don't want to bend your headband itself up top because that's all plastic and you could risk snapping that. But bending this out will actually soften the clamp force a little bit so you can get it to fit just right on your head. Now, the Virtuoso Pro is available in white or black, so I am pleased to say that Wicked Cushions also released a white pad. You can use the white pad on the black, it doesn't matter, obviously make it your own. But if you do want to preserve that all white aesthetic, Wicked Cushions has your back with the white one. It's the same price and the same sonic characteristics, so it won't change anything else, just purely cosmetic. The freeze pads use a leatherette material. You can see kind of like the shinier surface with that print, and then you have a sport fabric on the inside. The Virtuoso Pro was kind of a unique fabric choice because this fabric is a really tight weave and it's a little scratchy. You can kind of hear it. And then if I go to the Wicked Cushion pad, it's not as scratchy. In some cases, the Wicked Cushion pads have been a more scratchy pad than stock, but that's not the case with the Virtuoso Pro. It actually gets a little bit softer on the skin, which is the first thing people are going to like. Another thing people are going to notice when you switch pads is these pads are significantly heavier than the stock pad. It's not like a massive difference. In fact, this is still a lighter headset compared to some others on the market, but it does go from 344 grams with the stock pads all the way up to 398 grams just by putting the Wicked Cushion Freeze pad on. Because some of that weight is sitting here and not up top, you don't quite feel it as much as you would with some other headsets, but it does definitely make it noticeably heavier. When it comes to pad compliance, this is an interesting one. So Wicked Cushions has usually been pretty good for glasses for me. In fact, some headsets, they benefit by switching to Wicked Cushion Freeze pads because they are a little bit more compliant for that initial detent when you first push it in, which depending on your frame size and the temples that go, by your ear, any kind of pressure there can lead to long-term discomfort. Because this is deeper, that helps to an extent with glasses comfort as well. But I will call out the stock Virtuoso pad, the first few millimeters of padding, even though it's extremely shallow, these pads are very, very soft on a narrow pressure point. So they've actually been really good for me for glasses. So as long as you weaken or soften the clamp force, I think the stock pads in this particular case might be a little bit better for glasses, but depending on, again, how thick your frames are and how large your head is, you should still be able to get away with this. It's just something to keep in mind. Even though the Wicked Cushion Freeze pad is a larger physical pad, you can see the total width and depth is bigger. It is actually a slightly smaller opening diameter-wise. Now, both of these are fairly large. My ear fits in them just fine. It's interesting that Corsair went with a full circle rather than something oval-shaped like most ears, but this has a 58.5 millimeter opening, and the Wicked Cushion Freeze pad is 57 millimeters for the opening. So you're not losing a drastic amount. 1.5 millimeters is pretty minimal, and both of those kind of exceed what some other headsets give you anyway. So it should still fit okay. Now, when you swap pads on a headset or headphone, there are two profound changes that happen. One is the comfort, the other is the sound quality. In most cases, changing the pads does impact the sound quality, sometimes for the better, but in a lot of times for the worse, because let's face it, the people who make the headset or headphone in the first place, they typically chose their pad design for a reason. And when you apply a universally designed pad swap, you're not always going to get the same desired results. And that is the case with the Virtuoso Pro. Switching to the Wicked Cushion pad does have a pretty negative impact on sound quality, and I have measurements to show you. Now, this website is available for anyone to use. I have a link in the description, and you can use that to compare many other headsets and headphones I've reviewed in the past to help kind of see what their sound profiles look like. And here is the Virtuoso Pro, which, just to be clear, needed EQ as well. If you just get the Virtuoso Pro and started playing on it, you're missing out on what its true potential is. And thanks to the way it's designed, it actually handles EQ rather well. So you can get a huge improvement in gaming performance just by switching. Now, I want to show you what happens when I switch to the Virtuoso pad. So if you select the Virtuoso Pro on the left-hand side here, and when you switch to the Wicked Cushion pad, sorry, I misspoke, I hit this little plus down here, and you can see open back Wicked Cushion Freeze. All you have to do is click this plus sign. I'm going to change the color here. And you can see there is a big difference. I mean, let's be real. There is a huge roll-off in the upper mid-range and treble. And with that big, heavy bass that kind of carries into the mid-range, it is not an ideal sound signature. I wouldn't ever want to be in a position where you put Wicked Cushion Freeze pads on the Virtuoso Pro and couldn't do some form of EQ. I don't think that's the best combo depending on how you're using it. If you can do EQ, there is a massive improvement to be had. And because this has excellent driver matching, and honestly, I do prefer Wicked Cushion pads for comfort for me. I don't wear glasses all the time. I do sometimes. Obviously, I'm spoiled. I have multiple headsets to pick from. But purely wearing this on its own without glasses, I really prefer the Wicked Cushion pad for comfort because it gets my ears some breathing space. Once you apply EQ, now I can benefit from the sound quality as well. And I promise you, you will hear a profound difference as well. So I'm going to show you the EQ settings on screen. You can feel free to pause it here. Don't feel like you have to copy everything down. Just take a screenshot. Now, if you are using SteelSeries Sonar, in my description, I also have links to auto import these frequency changes. You know, all the settings that I have. If you click the link, it'll create a profile for you in Sonar, allowing you to benefit from this without having to type it all in. I have two profiles. I have one that is much better suited for music and movies and general purpose gaming. It works totally fine for FPS games, but then I also made a modified version that is specifically targeting first-person shooters by reducing some of that sub bass and making it a little less fatiguing while still keeping the detail up. Typically when people play first-person shooters, there is a lot of loud parts to the game, and this is kind of a universal tune. So if you're playing anything competitively, use the FPS tune. Otherwise, use the standard music one, which again works for everything. In addition to the SteelSeries Sonar import link, if you're using Equalizer APO, I do have the text file basically pasted in the description. So if you make your own text file to import, you can save those settings and create your presets in Equalizer APO as well. I want to do all this to kind of make it as easy as possible. Otherwise, just copy what you see in the screen and import them manually into whatever program you have. If for any reason you don't have the ability to do custom EQ with parametric EQ, which lets you pick the exact frequencies you're targeting, I have a generic 10-band equalizer setting being shown on the screen now. This is going to help curb some of that bloated bass I was talking about and also bring in the higher frequency detail. However, it's not going to be perfect because it's really hard to fix that peak that you get just before 3000 hertz. So I do improve it to an extent, but it's never going to be perfect with the 10-band alone. Now, if you want to learn more how to apply EQ and customize it and what some of these things mean, I did make an EQ tutorial video to help kind of explain it, and there are other resources online as well. I'll be straight. So out of the box, again, I would not just switch this and play on it and expect improved sound quality. It does make it worse. And if you have thick frame glasses, this may also be a step back as well. However, for me, because of the thicker pad and after EQ, this is a much better Corsair Virtuoso Pro experience. I would prefer it personally, but I think you have to weigh in all your pros and cons and see what fits your use case and if it's for you or not. If you decide it is, again, I will save you 15% by using my coupons in the description below. With that being said, thank you so much for watching this, and I'll see you at the next one. Bye.